Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, March 4th. We are now entering phase 2 of this three-day event. Yesterday featured a lot of freezing rain and sleet, certainly a lot of slippery spots for the evening commute. Temperatures rose slowly overnight from generally in the upper 20s early last night to the lower 30s this morning, not far from the freezing mark in portions of the I-95 corridor as we start the day here on Wednesday. However, temperatures will definitely rise well above freezing over the next several hours, reaching well up into the 30s across Philadelphia, New York City, perhaps even into the low to mid 40s in the DC metro region. Then phase 3 begins tonight. Colder air pushes in from the northwest. At the same time, an area of moisture rides up along the frontal boundary zone from the southwest to the northeast overnight tonight into the day on Thursday. The rain will first change to a period of sleet probably in the middle part of the night, and then to accumulating snow late tonight, and that accumulating snow will continue throughout much of the day on Thursday, most likely yielding the biggest snowfall of the year for portions of the I-95 corridor. Right now it looks like 6 to 12 inches is on the table in the DC and Philly metro regions, perhaps a little bit less, possibly 4 to 8 inch range up across New York City, and we'll try to fine-tune those numbers as the day progresses. But one of the biggest snowfalls of the year for much of the I-95 corridor from late tonight through much of the day on Thursday. A lot to talk about over the next several minutes. Let's start off with the latest surface map across the nation. These are frontal systems drawn on the map here by NOAA. They have the surface front, cold front right now cutting across eastern Pennsylvania. However, there's a trough out here in the Ohio Valley. You can see it right in here with this isobar pattern right here. This is really where the cold push of air lies this morning. There's northwesterly flow right behind this, and this is what we'll be tracking all day as it drives to the south and east. Once that moves into the I-95 corridor tonight, that'll begin a chain of events that will ultimately change the rain to sleet and then to accumulating snow after midnight, with that snow continuing heavy at times throughout much of the day on Thursday. Well, here's a nationwide look at the latest radar map from Mesonet.org website. Just a large area of moisture here. And again, this will be sliding to the north and east, basically moving in this direction over the next several hours. At the same time, colder air pushes in from the north and west. And there will be a sweet spot where that cold air is in place early enough for the bulk of the moisture to be in the form of snow. And probably the bullseye, the heaviest snowfall accumulations right now looks to be in a region from around D.C., perhaps just north of D.C., to right around the Philadelphia metro region. Again, a little bit less in New York City. The colder air will tend to suppress the heaviest moisture just to the south of New York City. 4 to 8 inches on the table right now across New York City, perhaps 6 to 12 inches from D.C. to Philadelphia. And again, we'll try to fine-tune that as the day goes on. But colder air pushes in from the north and west. At the same time, moisture, lots of moisture, pushes in from the southwest to the northeast overnight tonight and throughout much of the day on Thursday. Well, let's take a look at some of the forecast maps for this upcoming event from last night's Zero-Z GFS model run. Now, the GFS has put out a little bit less in the way of total moisture compared to the NAM, the mesoscale, North American mesoscale model. The NAM, a little bit more bullish in terms of overall snowfall, but right now we're showing the more conservative GFS model. We'll look at 6-hour increments from this evening and right through the upcoming event. This is the 7 p.m. forecast map. Follow this blue line here. This is the 0 degrees Celsius isotherm at 850 millibars, about a few thousand feet up in the atmosphere. Basically the freezing line here by early this evening is cutting across east central Pennsylvania, up across eastern West Virginia. At the same time, lots of moisture here just to the south and west of the I-95 corridor. So this area of moisture slowly pushing to the northeast, and the colder air is pushing in from the northwest. Very likely still in the form of rain here up and down the I-95 corridor. D.C. right here, Philly right here, New York City right here, still ahead of that freezing line in the lower part of the atmosphere. Let's jump ahead 6 hours. This is the 1 a.m. forecast map just after midnight. Notice by this time, this 0 degree isotherm at 850 millibars, now cutting right across the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. In the middle of the night, the rain should change over to sleet for a while, and then after midnight to accumulating snow. It should be snowing with some on the ground already first thing in the morning, with most likely lots of schools closed as we begin the day on Thursday. Colder air continuing to push in from the northwest overnight tonight, and still lots of moisture to go through here as it rides very slowly along this frontal boundary zone from the southwest to the northeast. And here's the forecast map for tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. By this time, that freezing line is to the south and east of the I-95 corridor. It should be snowing at this time in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Then it's just a matter of how long will the precipitation last. A little bit of a low pressure area developed here by the GFS in the South Carolina region by tomorrow morning, but colder air continuing to slowly push in from the north and northwest. The highs of the day on Thursday will likely be reached early in the day. Temperatures will tend to drop as the day progresses, as the snow falls and continues to pile up. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours. And here's the forecast map for early tomorrow afternoon, about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. That initial freezing line way down now across southeastern Virginia. In fact, the next isotherm now is dropping into southeastern Pennsylvania. Again, temperatures will tend to drop during the day tomorrow. But notice here, still lots of snow in this case being dumped out here by the GFS across D.C., Philadelphia, into New York City. You don't have to go too far to the north and west to get much less in the way of snowfall with this. The colder air just suppresses the moisture into the I-95 corridor. If you go upstate Pennsylvania, for example, far less in the way of snowfall. Again, it looks like the bullseye region right now, maybe from just near D.C. to around Philadelphia, a little bit less perhaps in New York City. And, of course, that could shift a little bit as the day progresses, so stay tuned for some fine-tuning as the day moves on here. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours. And here's the forecast map for early tomorrow night, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Still some snow falling back here in the I-95 corridor. I mentioned earlier there will likely be lots of schools closed tomorrow. Well, there's a decent chance some schools will close on Friday as well, because the snow will really continue for much of the day on Thursday. Then it turns brutally cold tomorrow night. By tomorrow night, temperatures will drop way down into the single digits in a good part of the I-95 corridor. So with the snow not winding down until perhaps early tomorrow night and bitter cold conditions overnight tomorrow night, the cleanup efforts will be slow. Certainly can raise the possibility for some schools, for example, to be closed on Friday as well. Finally, this is the forecast map for late tomorrow night, about 1 o'clock in the morning, early Friday. By this time, finally, the precipitation moves out of the I-95 corridor. Still a little bit hanging on right along the South Jersey coastline here, but a very cold night setting up for tomorrow night, of course, with fresh snow cover and perhaps some clearing late tomorrow night. There will be temperatures dropping way down into the single digits by Friday morning. So perhaps the biggest snowfall of the year for a good part of the I-95 corridor late tonight and throughout much of the day on Thursday. Stay tuned to VencoreWeather.com for updates later on today. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.